Are you an AI professional? And are you seeking to build your online presence through building a strong, substantial online portfolio that truly supports the value that you bring to any client or company with your AI knowledge? Let's go through a question that one of my students asked just a couple months ago, and I said I would cut a vid on this because it turns out it was more than a superficial question, even though on the surface level it seemed trivial, easy, just send out a quick email or announcement to students. Now, it's a little bit deeper than that because it truly reflects your strategy in positioning yourself. And that's why we're having a little moment together today, you and I. So if we haven't met before, I'm Dr. Aliana Moren, founder and chief scientist with Themesis Incorporated, founder of the Themesis Academy. I've just completed one of the most important short courses you could ever consider in your life if you're ever going to move in the direction of really understanding fundamentals for generative AI, or, even more importantly, building a solid foundation for understanding artificial general intelligence. But we're not talking about that today, even though we were for just a moment. What we're talking about is the question that the student asked, and it seems so superficial, just like, English language, just give me a yes-no type of answer, but it's more subtle. It's deeper and richer. And the question was, not to beat around the bush too much longer, the question was, when I'm writing my report, can I use I, like I did this, I did that? If not, why not? And what else should I do? Fabulous question. Now, here's the short, trivial, simplistic answer, but then we're going to go deeper. When you're writing a formal report, typically you prefer not to use I, because it comes across as sort of solipsistic. It's too self-centered, almost verging a little bit towards the narcissistic. It's kind of like if you went out for a date with somebody who was into bodybuilding, and what they wanted to do all during the date was to show off their poses, like, look at my arms. One or two, we can understand in good faith. An evening of that, nah. Or, for example, you're going out for a date with somebody who's constantly taking selfies of themselves and posting them up on Instagram. It's like, what? How about being with me? So you want ultimately your attention to be on your reader. And we're going to pair this with creating a YouTube or some sort of audiovisual presentation. And in that case, your attention is on your viewer. So try to stay away from I. Although if you're writing with a group of people, you can use we to your heart's abandon. Go for it because it's less solipsistic, it's less self-centered. But here's the real trick. We're going to play a little role-playing game here, you and I. We're going to pretend that you are the director and producer and playwright of a top TV series or Broadway show or movie. And you're talking to somebody about this movie. In fact, they've called you up. They're really excited about it. They want some inside scoop with you. And you agree to meet. And in fact, you're sitting in the theater and the movie comes up and you're looking at it together. Now you, in your role as director, producer, playwright, all those high-level functions, you don't want to be jumping up on the stage and suddenly gesticulating and say, me, 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 because you're allowing the focus to be on the actors. You're just sitting with your potentially new client, certainly your new friend, and slipping in a word at a moment here and there to say, oh, and this is how we handle this problem. Even then, you'd be using the we because you're implying a team effort. But suppose it's just you and you're just a one-person show. How do you deal? How do you deal? You're writing this very formal report. You don't want to say I. And the last thing you want to do is have passive voice. It's like, oh my God, no. We do not want to do that because it is so boring. Passive voice drones people into sleep and then they slide off your report and then you're forgotten forever. So the question is, what are you going to do? The data, the methods, the analysis itself, the interpretation of those results are all actors. They are actors on the stage. And you don't even say the data was formatted as. The formatting of the data showed that. Or analysis of the data revealed that. This is an active voice. You're actively analyzing the data or interacting with that data. It's active, not passive. The results showed that. analysis of, you can put down your favorite metric that you're looking at, revealed that active voice. Now, I'm going to add two more things because presumably I've got your attention for a moment. Your literature review and your discussion. Your literature review is essentially, do you know those movies, those TV shows where it's a sort of cops type of thing? It's a thriller with either cops or feds. And the first thing they do when they come into a new situation is they flash their creds. They show their ID and their credentials for being with whatever agency or police department they're with. Your lit review is flashing creds. It gives you the authority to enter the room and talk about the work that you're doing because you're saying, I know who the players are. I know the work that's led up to this moment. I know what the strengths are and the weaknesses are. I know what's going on. And you're dropping names massively. That's establishing credibility. Bookend that on the other side because then you discuss data, methods, actual results. You get to the discussion phase. Discussion is where you literally discuss. It's a little softer. You can't drop the formal mode because you're still writing a report. But imagine that you're sort of like out to lunch with this person and the person is actually interested. And this is where you expand on your results. It's not just the cut and dried, these are the data, these are the analytics results, this is the method that worked the best, this is the best value that we obtained with this particular architecture and these particular parameters. No. It's a little bit, as we look at this method or this approach to dealing with this particular kind of data, what we find is, and you sort of build it out a little bit more broadly. And then bookending those two things, the front end section is your introduction / problem statement, which leads, absolutely you lead with this. Such and such is an important problem in this field because blank. You grab their attention right away. And it's okay if 99% of potential readers fall off right at that moment because that 1% the 1% that is saying, oh my God, yes, I really need to see a report on this, and they will stay up later than their bedtime to read your report because you're zoning in on a problem that they're trying to address. Introduction, lead with a problem statement, then fill in some details. At the very tail end, conclusions, typically coupled with the directions for future research because you're never done. Your conclusions restate what you found, highlight your key findings, your most important points, and be brief and move on. In your abstract, you write as tight as you possibly can. It is problem statement, 1, maybe 2 sentences building that out just a little bit. Skip the literature review. If they want it, they'll read the paper. Get right into your data, your methods, your results. Quick summary. Be done. Okay. Now that's how to write your formal report. And by the way, I've got a whole playlist of how to write your report. They are under my personal YouTube channel. I will link to that in the description box below. And also I'm going to link to a blog post that is a Themesis blog post that talks about building your portfolio. Link in the description box below already. So let's go back. There is a time and place, of course, where you do use I. And that's when you're creating a YouTube such as this, because in this moment, it is as though we are having a conversation. We're having a coffee together, a glass of wine, lunch, whatever. It's you and me, eyeball to eyeball, and that's why I'm sitting here in front of the mic looking at you, and I'm not taking this image and scrunching it up into this tiny little thing and shoving it in the corner and having a slide deck. I want us to have that feeling of conversation, you and me. And I realize it's one-sided, best we can do, but there are comments, feel free. But what we want to do in the audiovisual presentation is soften that experience. It's less formal. It's more like we're having a conversation, one-sided though it is. And you can say I. Not to the point of boring your viewer to tears, but give a little sense of who you are, why you're doing this. Like in this case, I teach artificial intelligence at Northwestern University, have for almost a decade, developed the 3 core courses that are the central heart of the AI specialization, and those are the AI and Deep Learning course, the Natural Language Processing course, where I developed a new curriculum, ages ago, and there have been multiple tweaks at it since, by myself and others who've all contributed to the updates. And then I've developed the capstone class, which is strictly projects-based. In each course, we are very projects focused. So it's much more pick a challenging project, do it, support your work with your lit review, your analysis, be done. At the end of several quarters, presumably you've got a suite of projects that you're putting into your portfolio. So my background, I've had over 1,000 students come through my doors. I've looked at nearly 1,000 projects, given that some of them have teamed up. So looking at nearly 1,000 projects over the course of 10 years, that's a lot of projects. And typically, students do a fabulous job. I mean, awesome. I mean, jaw-dropping, awe-inspiring, amazing jobs. So the question is, how do you refine the presentation of your fabulous, awesome self to gain maximal value, seeking to draw in those new job opportunities that would be just right for you? So it's a combination. And now we're going beyond just that, do I use I, or if I'm not using I, how do I phrase my stuff? Initial discussion and into the whole packaging of your portfolio. And because I've got your attention, give it to me just for a couple of minutes more, because these next 5 points are important and they will give you head and shoulders above your competitors. Absolutely. And it's this. If somebody's approaching you to find out more about you and your work, suppose that you meet at a conference and you give them a business card, or even you just give them your name and you tell them where they can find you on the web. Next thing you know, they sort of nipped around the corner, they're looking you up on their phone or their whatever device they're carrying around, and they're finding you and they're getting to your site. It's your GitHub, it's your LinkedIn, it's your website. Kudos, hats off to you if you've got a website. Love it, totally adore it. But not necessary. I've seen fabulous portfolios built out of a GitHub base. Now what are they going to do? Suppose they're honestly interested in your work. Alrighty? Your GitHub is your basis. In each repository, you build out the depth of that project. You would have, for example, if you're sharing your data, you'd share your data. If you're not sharing your data, you say, here's how to access the data. Or maybe it's proprietary data, or maybe you've curated it, in which case they need to contact you. But you could put in a slide deck summarizing your data. Your methods. If you're going to share code, if it's original with you or if you've done something with it and you have a right to share it with your sections clearly marked, that can go in there. Your report, the long formal report, which would be just about the last thing that somebody's going to read, but you need to have it in there. So for the bottom layer, if you're building sort of a pyramid, is all the support material. It's your data, it's any code that you wish to share, and then on top of that is the actual report, which summarizes the work very beautifully and elegantly, as only you know how to do. And then on top of that, what I suggest is a 3-page written summary, an executive summary. 3 pages, but what is ideal? What's ideal is you put an infographic or some sort of clean, very legible, easy to understand figure on each page, and each page simply has a couple of bullet points or short, pithy paragraphs that identify the topic that you're dealing with. The first page would largely be introduction, problem statement, and maybe an infographic of the space that you're working in. Second page is data and methods. Third is results, conclusions. That simple. Because executives don't have much time. They're having to speed read, and you just need to give it to them in infographic form, because our brains absorb visual so much better than we absorb long text. And in some other YouTube, I'm going to put down a rant on how to organize your papers so that they are more visually appealing and cognitively easy for your reader. Oh, it's so important to give them cognitive ease. But moving on. You've got base layer is all your background stuff. Next layer, this is layer number 4, is your report. Third layer, the middle layer, 3-page executive summary. If they're really interested, they're going to read your executive summary. On top of that is your long-form audiovisual presentation, which might be a YouTube. I'm all for starting a YouTube channel. You don't have to have a lot. You just have to have something, but it needs to bear on your work. And if you can manage one audiovisual per project, that is fabulous. Now, top layer, the pyramidium, the cherry on top of the whipped cream on top of the sundae, okay? What I so urge you to do these days is a short form video, the kind that you could put into a YouTube short or Instagram. And I hear tell that short form video is quite the rage these days. More to the point, if you can get your project down to 60 seconds or less, and if you can get it on your phone, then if you're talking with somebody, you can pull that up and walk them through it. And it's pretty easy to say, hey, you got just a minute? Because I can take you through the whole project in 1 minute. We got everything important right here. And you can pull it up and let it play, or you can mute it down and talk over it. You will have to reformat your stuff. Okay, you're going to do a good, high-quality pro job, and whatever you've put into a long-form video that is your typical screen size, you want to reformat much simpler, much fewer words, simple, easy to read, easy to grasp at a glance. Legibility is key, and do that for your Instagram style, YouTube short style video, because you can just about guarantee getting somebody's attention for 60 seconds, and that might be your pitch moment. So thank you. I'm so delighted to have had a moment with you. I wish you all the most glorious success in having that next step forward in your career. Aliana Moren from Themesis. Have a lovely day. Have you found this useful? Please share any tips, success stories, or resources that you feel would be valuable to the community. And also, if you want to receive word on future Themesis YouTube's blog posts, resources of all sorts to help you as you prepare for your next stage career in AI and AGI, please go to the Themesis website, go to the About page, scroll down, use that opt-in form, fill it in, do the confirmation email, and move it to your preferred inbox so that we can stay in touch, because fabulous things are on their way. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Have a lovely day.